Hello, everybody, and welcome to Witch Bitch, where we talk the real tea. Today we have Pina on the show. Now, this is very special to me because me and Pina actually met when I was living up in Byron, and we both lived in a tent. Not in the same tent, but both in a tent. And we really connected, and we had so many conversations about nature and witchy things and spirituality. And so I asked if Pina wanted to come on, and you said yes, which is really exciting. So I've mentioned this before to you, but how we start every single episode with someone, like with a new guest, we ask, what is your spirituality story? What's your awakening story? How did you become or get to the point where you are now in your spirituality?
Um, yeah, I thought about this question a lot, and I came to the realization that I don't think I had like one specific event, but more of like a series of situations where I realized that there's more to life than what I don't know everyone presents. And I've been a witch and pagan for 5 years now, but I've been interested in witchy things and all that since I was, I think, 8 years old. Because I don't know, I always felt quite uncontent. The I would say like mainstream lifestyle. Um, yeah, my I would say that my spirituality is heavily nature based. Um, and I always had that deep trust in Mother Earth, which is why I'm really excited that this topic is trusting nature. Um, yeah, but I don't know, maybe I mean, I'm only 19 years old, so maybe I'm still waiting for my full on spiritual awakening, or maybe it happens like way down in my childhood. So, yeah.
I really resonate and relate to that because I did have a big moment in my spirituality where I kind of, it was kind of like a big bang. But before that, I felt like, even in contrast to other people's awakening stories, it was really not that big. It was just something like an accepting of my beliefs. That was my awakening story, was just accepting what was already there. So yeah, I feel the same. Like, I'd always been interested and um, into things like crystals and herbs and natural remedies. And I, though, personally had a very different connection to nature because I was very scared of nature until until moving to Byron. I mean, I slowly, through witchcraft, I gained some trust with nature, but being immersed in like a tent, like in the jungle, there was no better way to connect.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm well, why don't so I feel like, to the audience, it's kind of hard to imagine just how in nature we were, because we were still in the town of Byron Bay. Like, we were still very close to town, but we were on like a nature reserve.
We
Like, there
lived
was
in
a
a swamp.
yeah, we lived in a swamp. Like, that's what everyone needs to understand. There was animals of all kinds, bugs of all kinds, noises of, you didn't know what
Jungle
was,
noises.
yeah. What was, so I would love to hear more about like what your process was in when you first got there and you first moved in. Like, what was your thoughts, your process in accepting that this was where your home was going to be?
I don't know. I loved it. It was. I felt so at home there from the moment I got into this place. I mean, yeah, I guess it took everyone a while to get used to living in a tent and being this close to nature every day without like a single break. Um, but I don't know. I really really enjoy just living so close to nature this whole time. I've been living in a tent for 2 months now, and even though I've always been close to nature, I don't think I've ever been that in nature for such a
Mm.
long time. So yeah, I guess sometimes it can be hard. For example, I don't know if you have been there for the big storm, but there was
I
this one evening where we had this big and rain, and many tents got flooded. And yeah, you experience nature in such a different way when you live in a tent because you need to learn how to really, I don't know how to say it, how to find your way with the changes of nature and the unpredictability. How do you
mm.
say
So
it?
it's like going with the flow.
Yes, you really need to learn how to just accept that you can't
Yeah.
change anything about the rain or the light thing. You just need to prepare yourself as good as you can and then go from there and hope that everything goes well.
Yeah, wow. I actually never thought of it like that because it really is at some level like a survival camp, kind of. Like, because this is your
I'm a
home.
celebrity. Get me out of here.
Yeah, it is a little bit. Because all your stuff, like I'm just, if anything, I'm not a good example of this because I had a home close by, but most of the people that live there are travelers like you, Pina. So all of your valuables,
Yeah.
basically your whole life is in this tent. It's your
Yes.
home. And you have to do your best to protect it because you can't do anything about the storm. And the storm is most likely going to affect your tent in some
Yeah.
way. It's going to, you know, move it around. It might flood your tent. It might break your tent. Like these are things that can definitely happen. And you have to kind of navigate. You're really in it. Like there's no
Yes.
avoiding
No
the
way out.
inevitable. Yeah, there's no way out. You're trapped. Uh, yeah, but it's very interesting to look at it like that. For me, my process was kind of similar. Because being in Australia, I think I had some knowledge around like what to expect. Like I knew what the
Mm.
area looked like. I
Yeah.
know what to look out for, especially with things like snakes and stuff. But at the same time, it's still when yeah, I just that wasn't even a thought in my mind. It was just like this place is beautiful. I'm meant to be here. I know I'm meant to be here. Even though it's a swamp and it smells, it was still so beautiful and it was so like you feel just so at home and you have the rainforest behind you and it's just like it's so beautiful and pretty and you do have to watch out for things like snakes. Like there's snakes everywhere, but you just have to trust and prepare yourself and trust yourself to close your tent door and to like
Yeah.
and to prepare yourself for these things that are around you.
And also
Being
to
aware.
live with them because
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with the animals. You can't do anything about it. There's a snake living on top of the fridge in the kitchen where we live, and one night it was in front of my tent. And I don't know. At first, I got a bit scared because I didn't know if this snake was like dangerous or anything. But then I was like, okay, if I don't scare the snake, it will probably don't feel uh, like I'm dangerous for the snake. And if I don't think the snake is dangerous for me, we can just coexist.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy when you think about it. It's beautiful though, and it taught me a lot about trusting nature.
Yeah.
one question that I wanted to ask you is around um, your witchcraft paganism journey. It's interesting that you are a pagan because me and Mum just filmed, it isn't out yet, but me and Mum just filmed an episode about Merlin and the ancient mystery around Merlin and its connections to obviously pagan culture. And yeah, so I'm really interested to hear about how you found paganism and like what made you resonate so deeply with it.
Mm, that's a really good question. I'm not quite sure. I've always felt really. I mean, I feel like there are different types of paganism for sure, but also within my journey there were different stages, I would say. So I always grew up being very close to Mother Earth and to I mean, when I was a child, I would talk to trees and look up for fairies and spirits all around me, and I would say that this made paganism. I want to like I don't know. I would say that even that like I don't know how to say it. Um,
I think I understand
like
what you mean
the
completely.
connection to Mother Earth itself
Yeah.
is also paganism, I would say. In a way, and then I grew up being really interested in Celtic and like Germanic, North pagan mythology. I I really felt like this would connect me more to like my like everything around me, like the nature of my home country, and so I got more into that, and I read a lot about Norse paganism, and yeah, I'm still finding my way of like thinking about what I do believe and what I don't, and where I'm standing within pagan path. But yeah, I don't know. I always felt like a calling from ancient religions, I would say, and
Yeah.
Pina,
yes.
for me, I don't know a lot about paganism, and I'm sure that there are viewers watching that are the same and they have limited knowledge. So, in your words, can you explain to me, who is a complete novice, what paganism is to you? What can you describe some of the meaningful aspects that stood out for you to somebody like me who doesn't know anything?
Um, so you mean like my definition of
Yeah.
paganism?
Yeah,
Um,
how it kind of like fits aligns with you and in your life.
so I would say on the one side it's like what you would think about in like at first paganism, I would say is like having multiple deities, but I feel like for me it's not mainly about deities itself, but also like having Earth as your religion or spiritual spiritual path.
Yeah.
So
So
what you're saying is that paganism has a strong connection to the earth and to nature and to the like the elements and
yeah,
that stuff. So that's what resonated for you then?
yes, because I always felt very connected to nature, but it wouldn't fit in with the environment. because I went to a Catholic primary school, and then my family was really atheistic, and so I felt like the way I perceive nature wouldn't fit in like in any aspect of that. And then I learned more about paganism and about old traditions and herbalism and like mm, spirits of like um, I don't know how to pronounce. I think it's animism, where it's a belief that everything around you has a spirit, so the trees and plants and animals and everything. And then also in other beings like gods and your ancestors, and it's like a whole, like it connects everything. Um, yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whew, that is so resonant. Like because I've looked into paganism a little bit here and there, and I definitely do. I would say identify with the culture, but there was things at first that kind of I didn't resonate with, like sort of around the deities and um, around spell work. Like one thing that I just didn't sit with me, like resonate with me, was like the specific spell recipes. I just thought it was too rigid. I didn't like that there was this like direct, precise.
Being like you have to do this and this in order for it to function. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And I still was like, no, but there's definitely parts of this that I love. And you just literally listed off every single thing that I I like that I feel around life and this earth. And I really do want to create in my spiritual practices um this center around earth, and like I'm not worshipping a god, I'm not worshipping anything, I'm worshipping the earth, and in a way that puts me as equal because we are earth, you know, like we are nature too, we are part of this planet. And I think when people start worshipping the earth instead of, you know, who knows what up there, it creates a groundingness of and a recognition that we're all part of this incredible life.
Yeah, I resonated with a lot of what you were saying too, because I wasn't fully aware of the extent of paganism, like as a label. But what you were describing was a lot of what I believe also, like that like all beings and all matter on the earth has a consciousness. Like you were saying, you called it a spirit. But for me, I've always thought of it as a consciousness. Like there is a level of consciousness in a rock or in a tree or in soil, like, I mean, there's incredible consciousness in trees. They connect under the ground, and all the aspects of the forest have a role to play in that. Like there's fungus that can communicate through tree roots and things like that. Like it's just incredible. Once you start looking into it, it kind of blows your mind. And I think that's where Avatar got a lot of the themes for Pandora. They drew inspiration from actual rainforests that exist on the earth today. And so, like what you're describing, it's called paganism, but I have beliefs that I've come to, expand my consciousness now that align with that. And I just don't call it paganism. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. I mean, maybe it's also just my definition of it. But
Mm.
I mean, for example, I know that there are deities and gods, but I wouldn't say that I believe in them in a way that like Christians believe in their
Yeah,
God.
right.
But more of that they are aspects of nature and that
Yeah,
metaphors of nature. And if we worship these deities, we worship nature. And
yeah,
I think it helps a lot of people to really connect with nature if they worship rather than like everything around them.
yeah,
I feel like it's like a bridge between us as humans and then like I would say like Mother Earth being like if I for example let's say mm, as an example someone is worshipping Dona or Thor um, as a god of thunder, they're actually like worshipping thunder itself.
Mm.
That will like create a really strong bond between the person and nature. I
mm.
don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does.
completely. Yeah, and I resonate with that. I love that so much. Wow, I think
They
if,
make movies about Thor.
yeah.
You know, like the, it might be what I'm thinking is that it's rooted in paganism, but it's so much part of our world and our consciousness, and as you know, our because we're all made of the same stuff. It's so tangible. It's so kind of part of who we are as nature itself that we're telling these stories even today in movies.
Mm, yeah,
Yes.
Mm.
yeah. It's really, I think it's just like a testament to humans and we, the fact that we really do connect with
We just don't know, understand. Like it's on a level that we can't probably
like
Yeah.
material,
articulate.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
materialize.
yeah,
many people are so disconnected from nature. So I feel like for many people it's really hard to to trust and connect with nature if they are so out of it.
yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. I um I wanted to ask also because I think something that's really powerful to share is around your journey to actually coming to Australia and deciding to live where we lived. Because I think that's really powerful and brave. And I wanted to ask, like, when did you decide that you wanted to travel here, and what was it that made you decide?
This is actually a thing that I've been thinking a lot about in the days. Um, I don't know. I would say I was running towards something the same that I was running away from something. Um, when I was back in Germany, I felt, with some aspects of my life, I felt very content, but at the same time, I felt very trapped in where I was and in my, like, yeah, in my life. And I was very depressed, and I knew that I needed to do something about it. And so I decided to, yeah, do this for myself, to go on this adventure and to change my life because I knew that I needed to do something about it. And yeah, so coming to Australia was for one part like just an adventure that I wanted to do, but on the other side, I also wanted to heal and to
Mm.
Mm.
find myself again.
Yeah, wow.
You know, as a older person, um, older, not old, I look back at when I was your age, and I just think I'm so like I feel so much joy and hope for the future that you are the generation coming into your adulthood now, because it feels like you're so aware of yourselves and your um, your ability to say, I'm not happy where I am, I'm going to move and I'm going to get myself out of this situation and I'm going to go and have an adventure and I'm going to find myself. That that's like so brave and so connected to yourself, and like it makes me so happy that you're that self-aware, because God, at 19, there's no way. I left home and I went to art school, but that was the extent of my bravery. Like to get on a plane and go somewhere by myself and just leave everything up to the universe. It just wasn't, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't mature enough at that age to do that.
Mm.
That came later for me. But to see you girls doing it now when you're so young, it's like, yes, it's great,
Mm.
because this is the time now when you should be doing those things. You should be taking life by the balls and exploring yourselves and exploring the world and how you connect and how you fit into things, and
Mm.
learning about your limits, and what you're capable of doing and all of that stuff. It's just so wonderful to see for somebody at my age, to see you girls doing that. It's
Mm.
awesome. And that you're girls.
Yeah.
You're girls and you're doing it. Like,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Mm. I I've met, like, it was actually quite surprising. I think there's something in our age, Pina, because there was so many other 19-year-old girls doing the same thing.
Yes.
There
Yeah,
was like
true.
at least, I would say, a majority of the girls, well, maybe not a majority, but like out of all the age groups, 19 was the most,
Biggest group.
it was like the
Mm.
biggest group of girls. Like
Yes.
it was insane, and it made me realize that I wasn't alone in how I thought. I wasn't alone in
Mm.
how I acted and what I believed in, because I'm sure you can relate to this, Pina, but like at our age, talking to other people our age about this sort of thing, I received a lot of judgment.
Yes.
Or, yeah, like a lot of judgment to the
What? In Byron?
no, no, no,
In your life? Yeah.
before
Before
Byron.
Byron. Yeah.
Yeah, before Byron. Um, I remember there was this one time I was at my friend's 18th birthday party, and I literally, all I said, I didn't even say anything about anything in particular. All I said was, um, just trust the universe. Everything will be fine. Just trust the universe, because my friend was nervous around her birthday. And I said, just trust the universe. It's going to be okay. And this other girl at the party was like,
She attacked
what did
you.
you just say? Did you just
Trust
say
the
trust the universe?
universe.
It's
Who are you? Yes.
like, yeah, I did. It's just like, oh, just stop it with that. Like, I can't, you're such a hippie, or, like so
Yeah.
much judgment. And it's like, what do you mean?
But for
Yeah.
you, but this is the thing, right? For you, trusting the universe is actually a concept. It's actually a real thing. Like you
Yeah.
understand what it means when you say trust the universe. But for somebody who hasn't got that same level of understanding, it seems like a throwaway comment. It
Mm.
seems
Yeah.
like, oh, you'll be fine, like putting a
Yeah.
band-aid over the thing, and it sounds like you're not really listening.
Mm,
Yeah. That's
And because
yeah.
they don't have the same level of understanding, you actually, and it happens all the time that I get misunderstood too at work when I say something, and people go, are you really that nice? Like, and they don't trust it. They don't understand that you actually are coming from a place of love.
mm,
Yeah.
And I think it's a reflection. Like when that happens, it's not a reflection on you. Because when you've done the work on yourself, when you're exploring, when you have a level of understanding of nature, of how things work, universal law, the universe, all of that stuff, and you've worked on your own level of trust in that stuff, you you're speaking to somebody. It's like an adult talking to a kindergarten, and I'm not saying that in a judgy way, because they aren't in kindergarten. I understand that, but just as an analogy to make you understand, it's that like from one level to another. It's like you're trying to talk to somebody through a thick plate glass. They can't hear
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and feel so lonely. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. It's also like I think connecting to the universe and nature was in a way what made me feel the loneliest because I also no one could understand me to that like extent that I needed. I felt like I needed to someone to understand me when I grew up, and yeah, so it can be very lonely to be on that point of your life, but then also I would say nature was what helped me through it and helped me to understand that in nature I would never be alone, and so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was really hard to hold that position because in Sydney there's not much nature near my home. Like there is, but it's just like a park
Yeah.
or like there's not.
Yeah, it's pockets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It's not really immersed. You're not immersed in nature. You can go to places where there is nature, but it's not.
yeah, it's not like you're living in a swamp.
No.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really hard because I felt alone and I also felt disconnected from the earth at the same time. And
So what you're saying is it wasn't an instant. I'm in nature. I'm connected. It wasn't an instant thing.
in Sydney.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Byron.
No, I'm talking about
Oh,
in
right.
Sydney.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, like in Sydney, it was really hard to navigate feeling so alone and so separated from other people and my friends. And then I also felt disconnected from nature because I was living in a city where, like, my only access to nature was like a park, and I would go barefoot and maybe read a book or do this or that, and it was just really, really, really challenging. So when I did go move to Byron, I had both nature and people, and it was like such a crazy juxtaposition, and it was like I was a snow globe and it shook up all the glitter inside. It was really magical, and just I was like, oh wow, this is what life is supposed to be like connecting with people and connecting with earth and doing uncomfortable but yet fun things every day. It was just really really cool. And also I'm excited because we're going to be doing that again but in Cairns.
Yes.
So me and Pina are going to be living in a tent together. So we're taking it a notch up, and we're going to be in Cairns as well, which I feel like is going to be fun because the nature there is just incredible.
Incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, you've been there. I haven't. So you've got more expertise than me. So yeah, but we're going to be working on a farm together, or who knows, we'll see what happens, but we're going to be finding some farm work, and then we're going to go halves on a car and travel around and travel Australia, and it's really exciting. It's like a really exciting thought. It's actually kind of crazy a little bit.
All adventure ahead of us.
Yeah, we do. And one of the first times that we ever got to know each other was when we were talking about paganism, I think, like that was one huge topic of conversation the first time that we met was when we went to Brunswick. And I remember in the taxi and or it was in the cafe, I don't remember, but I was telling you about my tattoos and the archetypes, and you knew what the archetypes were because I want to get some archetypal tattoos, and you knew, like, I didn't even have to say the archetypes. You were like, oh, like the archetypes. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, it really was like an instant reflection that we understand each other, and I don't know, that we have such similar ways of looking at life, and it's really, really, really powerful. I'm really looking forward to this journey together. It's going to be fun.
Me too. Yes.
I'm jealous. I wish I could come.
I mean, 3 to a tent might be a bit too intense, but you.
I just have my own tent.
Oh, well,
there we go.
That's fine. Yeah. So, we've still got a bit of time left. We've got like 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
So, I would love to talk more about like nature itself and talking about nature, because I imagine, like, you hear, anytime I tell someone I'm from Australia, people freak out and they're like, oh, that's the place with all the dangerous spiders and snakes and all the crazy animals. So from your perspective, someone who is an Australian, who's German, and was definitely told this story by so many people. I'm sure when you told
that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure when you told people that you're coming here, they were like, "What are you doing? There's crazy animals." What, like, and also living in the jungle, I know, and I will share them in a second. I've had first-hand experiences with these animals, like the snake on the fridge and in front of your tent. But how do you feel in this country with all that intense nature? And I will say intense because it can be a bit intense sometimes.
So before I came here, I needed to I was doing research, and I memorized the phrase that the last time someone got killed by a spider was in 69, and the chance of being killed by a spider is 0.001%. I need to learn that from my mom. So I'm not afraid of the spiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, but coming to Australia really made me feel a bit disconnected from nature again, which was a really weird feeling for me because I always felt this really, really deep connection to nature. But because your Australian nature is so very different from the one that I grew up in, I had difficulties with connecting to everything around me. Because I remember when I came here, I realized that everything is different, and everything, like all the noises and all the birds and the plants and the trees and everything is so different, but at the same time it's still all Mother Earth, which is what helped me to reconnect in a way. I mean, I'm still finding my way, but yeah, I guess it can be very hard when you first come here to get used to the Australian nature, but at the same time it's so very fascinating, and so it is so different, but at the same time it is not, because it's all nature and it's all around us, and I would say that even if it looks different and the noises are differently, it is still nature, and it is still it still has that same like spirit or consciousness in it. So yeah, I,
Yeah, I can imagine growing up in Australia myself, having, like, I have a great respect for the animals, the dangerous ones. I feel like we learn, when you grow up here, you learn, things like when you go outside, you bang your shoes to make sure that there's no spiders in
mm,
there. You know the signs to look for. um, when you're walking in long grass, you're not just barreling through, like you're actually conscious that you could step on something.
yeah,
Things like that. Like there's a respect for nature, and it's for me, it's because I got bitten by a spider when I was like, I don't know, 9 or something. And it was a tarantula. I remember seeing the spider that bit me. It was a garden tarantula, thank
oh,
goodness. But I felt the fangs go in
mm,
my foot,
Oh,
and
ouch,
it was when I was trying to put my shoes on. So it seems to be, the shoes seem to be a thing with
mm-hmm.
like animals, and bugs and stuff. But I remember freaking out. I was so scared that it was a dangerous spider. Thankfully it wasn't, but that experience um, taught me how quickly and easily a brush with that sort of nature can, really happen. Like it's
Yeah,
just an instant. So I grew up with this very, very strong respect for nature. And I think coming, if I were to grow up, because I know my husband grew up in the UK, and then when he came to Australia, he'd heard all those stories about bugs and stuff. And he, I remember seeing a huntsman on the wall, and he couldn't believe how big it was. It was as big as like a hand. It was this big. And he took a photo of it, and I said to him, nobody's going to know how big it is because there's no reference. You have to put your hand next to it. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm
yeah.
not putting my hand next to that spider. Well, huntsmen are essentially harmless. They do jump, but they don't. They're not poisonous or anything. They can't kill you. So yeah, I was like, but you could just do that and take a photo quickly. It'll be fine. And he just wouldn't do it. So I can imagine coming from another country where there's hardly any dangerous animals to coming to Australia. There would be a period of adjustment,
yeah,
and like you would be getting the lay of the land. How dangerous is it? How close are these animals to me on a daily basis? And how am I going to act around these animals and things like that? Because when I go to Europe, I'm walking through the 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 forests and things, and there's all this, oh, look over here, and there's a cute rabbit, and there's deer over there, and there's a babbling brook, and there's like, these bluebells, and there's like, you can sit in a field and make daisy chains and things like that. And that's not how I grew up.
Yeah.
You don't do stuff like that here.
Yeah. Because if you sit in the long grass, a
Mm.
snake might be there.
Yeah, you're passing through because, that isn't your domain. That's
mm,
not where you live. You're not living in the grass. The snake
yeah,
is living in the
yeah,
grass.
Yeah.
So you're passing through carefully, and you're respectful of the fact that, nature is a huge personality here.
yes,
It's a huge part of um, Mother Earth. Like Mother Earth is really present here in
Yeah.
Australia.
yeah,
Yeah. I know when I was living in Byron, the like there was a few times where, like one time in particular, where I almost stepped on a snake, and I remember I was walking down this path, and the grass wasn't even that long. It was like this long. Like it was not.
So you could see it
On the
really easily.
woodland side.
Yeah, so
I
like
think we
behind.
were there together, weren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think so, and I remember I was walking and I was mindful because I'm always mindful in open spaces to like stomp on the ground to
Yeah,
let the snake
for the
know
vibration. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're coming. Even though I thought we were completely safe, I just did it. And I'm glad I did because, like, maybe 2 steps ahead of me, I saw a red belly black snake, like, go to the forest. And, like, that it was right in front of me. If I took another 2 steps, I would have been stepping on it. Yeah, so that was one close encounter, and I know the same day that I set up my tent, there was at least 3 spiders that I saw on my tent. Like,
Yeah, God,
instantly.
I can't imagine you like being okay with that.
No, I was totally fine. And what I actually did was I placed boundaries in my tent. So at the door, I like spoke intention into it, and I'm like, bugs, I love you so much. You can climb all over my tent.
Just don't come inside.
Yeah, you can go any way you want, but you are not allowed to come through this door. That is my boundary. I'm happy for you to be anywhere else, just not inside. Do not enter my door.
Did it work?
And it never once did a bug, like a spider, a bug, yeah, maybe, but like an ant or, like harmless, but never did a spider or a majorly crazy insect come into my space. Never.
Yeah, beautiful.
Never once. And I was there for 3 months. The amount of times that I saw spiders outside my tent, like every day I would see at least 2. But never did they come inside. It was actually kind of a miracle. So I find that when I do that with mosquitoes as well, like sometimes I'll be sitting outside and I'll notice that the mozzies are quite bad, and I'll just say to the mosquitoes, like in my mind, I'll be like, mosquitoes, I love you, but please don't bite me anymore.
That's so cool.
Can you find your, food elsewhere, because I've given enough blood now to you. I've donated enough, so please find somewhere else. And I'll still get a bite here and there, but it will be way less than...
They're the disrespectful ones.
I think they're maybe just really hungry or lazy to find someone else. I don't know. But when I do things like that, it actually works. And to me, that shows that nature is listening and ever connected, and it isn't something that works against us.
No.
Yeah.
Like when you set those boundaries in a loving way, and you communicate and you spend time with nature and are open in nature, those things really do work. Like, she listens to you. I remember there was one time, not related to living in this place, it was way before, and I was in Byron Bay and I went on a camping trip, and it had just rained really, really heavily, so there was all these leeches in the grass, like to the point where you would look down into the grass and you would see the leeches. Like, it was that gross. And I remember at this time, this was like the peak of my nature fear. Like, there was no understanding
on your behalf.
This trip was the beginning, really, of like really placing trust in nature and being comfortable in situations I find it uncomfortable. Because I growing up, I had like a huge fear of bugs, and leeches, spiders, ticks, they were like the huge things that I hated. I hated all like insects, but those were like the main ones. And so I would be seeing all these people around me on the camping trip, like with leeches, like climbing up their shoes just from walking like 2 steps in the grass. And I'm like, your
first nightmare.
Yeah, I was wondering what on earth I got myself into. I was having a panic attack.
I can imagine.
And I was like, what am I going to do? And eventually I was so scared that like all my attention was on my feet and ankles. I was always keeping watch. So whenever there was a leech, I would flick it off. And then I got too tired of that, and you can't do that all the
No.
time. So I had a talk with someone, and they were telling me about doing this thing where I place boundaries and I ask for them to leave me alone. And I did, and through that whole camping trip, I didn't get bitten once by a leech, which is kind of like a miracle, to be fair, because
they were everywhere.
every single person got bitten on this trip except for me, and there was about 12 people. So they were everywhere. There was no avoiding them, but I asked to be left alone,
And they
left me alone. I didn't get bitten, which is really cool. Yeah, so things like that work. It just shows that nature listens, and that you can trust nature, that you can,
Yes.
you know, let go a little bit of
Have
the
you
fear.
tried that, Pina? Have you ever done that?
Not in this way, no.
I've never done it either.
I need to
think
try
it's-
that. There's so
Yeah.
many mosquitoes in the swamp right now. I need to.
Yeah, you don't even have to speak it out loud. You can just like do it in
Yeah.
your head and be like, "Hey, mosquitoes, I understand you
Leave
need
me
to
alone.
eat, but
Just don't eat me.
just don't eat me, please." Or like maybe just say, "Here, I'll give you like 5 seconds, and if you land on my hand, you can have that. You can have that little bit of blood, but then other than that, I don't want any more. I don't want you to
Yeah.
bite me anymore." Yeah.
It makes
Setting
sense.
boundaries, but at the same time also respecting nature's boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want to just be like saying
Asking.
mosquitoes, you're not
Yeah.
allowed to touch me, because I mean,
They are mosquitoes.
They are mosquitoes.
In the nature.
But when you place like have a bit of a compromise and a middle ground where you're respecting nature's needs and also your own,
Yes.
because there were times like the mosquitoes are really bad there. Like there was times where I would have like countless mozzie bites all on my legs, and I would just spend
in the jungle.
and I would just spend the whole next day like
It's
just
gotten even worse.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad I'm not there right now then.
It's worse now, did you say, Pina?
Yeah.
Right.
So a few weeks ago, they would come in the late afternoon, but today I was sitting outside having breakfast, and I got covered in mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah, and what makes matters worse is the kitchen literally has a cage as its walls. Like it's like a metal like cage. So there's no protection against like literally anything, really.
Yeah.
I don't know why they even do that. I think from the bush turkeys, that's the only thing that it really protects against.
Oh yeah, stealing the food.
And so when you're cooking, mosquitoes fly into your food and also bite you as well. Like it's pretty intense. But those boundary setting, like I would notice substantially the difference between when I did like set the boundaries and when I didn't.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would notice very much so. So yeah.
I just had a look at the time, and I think I need to leave in like a few minutes because someone else is coming to this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
worries.
that's good. I feel complete. We can.
I feel complete as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Pina, that you would like to say, or?
I think I'm also all good. Yeah.
Okay,
It
cool.
was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I miss you so much. It's so
I miss
nice
you too.
seeing
I'm
your
so
face.
looking forward to see you in April.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Thank you for coming on, Pina.
Thank you for having me. That was amazing.
And we'll have you on again. Maybe
I
when
would
you
love
guys
that.
are.
Yeah, when we're together, we can come on.
And
That
you
would be
guys
cool.
can interview me.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Sending so much love. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.